Hey Stephanie, so I was trying to write you an email to explain how to use the craft room, but I'm just having a hard time typing what I mean, so I'm just going to show you in a quick screen video. So here's the Cricut craft room when it's all opened up, and one of the things I was explaining in my email was about the cartridges available. So this section here, images and cartridges, whoops, is the section that you want to look at, and you want to make sure that this filter is set to my cartridges because that's going to show you just the ones that I have access to. So there's a few here, and sometimes Cricut will come out with a few free ones for a limited time that you can use within Craft Room. So for example, this laundry hamper one is the one that's free this week, and obviously we're not making laundry hampers, so we don't need to look at those ones. But the ones that I own are Creative Cards and French Manor and tags, bags, boxes, and more. So what I was explaining in my email was how I used this tags, bags, boxes, and more cartridge when I was doing my place cards on the bottles. And what I did was I went to cards, and then here you can see a whole bunch of images, and I went to tags. And so sometimes when you're making something on the Cricut, you might want to use two different colors. So they create templates where you can layer the colors. So let's say I wanted to make this sad face man. I would put it over here onto my mat, and then I would click the Shift Lock Images button. And then there's a corresponding one in the exact same place on the Shift, so that if I want to make this guy, maybe he's going to be yellow, but then his sad face behind is going to be in black, then I could make two separate cuts, and then it would be the exact same size with the exact same shape so that I could layer them properly. But for my purposes, what I did was I just went into this shift area because I wanted to find something plain that was going to cut easily. So I chose this one, and this is the one that I used for all of my tags. But if you see, the non-shift version of that is this, which is super pretty, but these little swirly things at the bottom were getting stuck in the printer, so I couldn't use that. So I just used the shift option. So for when you're looking for things, I thought that maybe some of the ones in the French Manor might be appealing to you. And there was one that I picked out. There's some that have these like pretty swirls. So obviously this is supposed to be a card, and it would go lengthwise like this, but you can rotate the images and use it like this way. And then you would fold it here where the crease is, and then you could use them as place cards standing up on a table. But the only thing you have to keep in mind is that this is another image that would have a shift underneath, so that you'd just pick, you'd have to make this the right size, but you'd cut two of these so that you didn't have this showing through. But what I was thinking is maybe if you wanted this, you could have this in where these swirly parts are, leave it and don't glue another piece of paper underneath. And then when people open it up inside, the names would be like in this section, but on the inside. And you could put their names in there so that they'd have to open it up. But anyway, it's totally up to you, whatever you want. Have a look around. But like I said, sometimes this shift area gives you more plain, more options. And sometimes it's nice to look in there because you'll get really clean cuts. And the only other thing I want to mention is that this craft room software is great for looking at the images, and maybe if you're cutting like one really simple thing, but Cricut hasn't figured out how to communicate between a Cricut and a Mac properly. So if you could go in here and you could arrange everything the way that you want, and even in the craft room you can make it the exact size that you want, which is really convenient, but it doesn't cut very well when you're doing more than one at a time. So when you pick an image that you like, choose it, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to File and Save, and name your project Stephanie's Wedding Table Cards or whatever you want, and then I'll come back in and look, and I'll see which image you've chosen, and then I'll just use the machine, and I will cut a few samples to like just using the machine without this software program, so that you can see exactly what it is going to look like when we have to cut a mass quantity of them, which is going to be a lot easier for us, I think. And the only trick is that when you're doing it here in the craft room, you can change the size, you know, up and down, lengthwise, or whatever. But when you do it straight on the Cricut machine, you can only change it relatively. So you can only basically change the size going like this way. And so, and I can do that at variations of different quarter inches. So, or sometimes I think it's by half an inch. I think it depends what the image is. So, for example, I can make it, you know, 3.5 inches diagonal lengthwise, or I can make it 2.5 inches diagonal lengthwise, whatever it is that you want. But I can't specify the exact width and height of it when I use it straight on the Cricut. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. So pick an image that you like, but have a look in French Manor. They have a lot of really fancy, cute stuff in there. But this tags and bags, boxes and more is also useful. And you could even go really wild and pick like a box, and then we could put them all together, and you could put the name on the inside of the box or something. So have a look. It's kind of hard to envision some of these images. There is a book that I have at my house that shows what they look like when they're put together. But if you're just going to make a simple card, then just look in some of these card sections, and that might be a little bit easier. But make sure you look in the shift section. That one's not very good. But in the tag section, the shift images are sometimes a lot nicer. So have a look around. And so hopefully this video has been more helpful for you than just be writing in the email. And I'll talk to you soon.